And we're now learning more about yesterday's deadly hostage siege in Australia. Two victims in the tragedy are being praised for their courage. 38-year-old Katrina Dawson was a lawyer and mother of 3 young children, according to reports. She died while shielding her pregnant friend from gunfire. And the cafe manager, Tori Johnson, is said to have grabbed the gunman's weapon, an act that saved lives and brought an end to the 16-hour siege. Johnson reportedly created an opportunity for the police to storm the cafe. They shot and killed the gunman, and 4 people were injured, including a policeman. There were a total of 17 hostages. Some of them managed to escape before the police entered the cafe. Australian officials are digging deeper into the gunman's background. Many are calling him a, quote, self-styled Muslim cleric. Some analysts are saying he's typical in many ways of the new lone wolf terrorist. With us now is J.M. Berger, who analyzes the movements of jihadists and other extremist groups and by tracking them on social networking sites. He also writes about these groups and just finished a new book titled ISIS, The State of Terror. We welcome you, J.M., to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So based on what we know so far about this Manas, how would you categorize him?
Well, Manas appears to fall into a category of borderline cases. We see a lot of cases over the years, and I think a little bit more recently, where people who might be inclined to violence otherwise are carrying out these acts in the name of a terrorist group, in this case of ISIS. Manas had a long criminal record. He had, including, allegations of violence, allegations of sexual abuse. He's a figure who very recently embraced the Islamic State and, became violent very quickly after that. So there's some reason to ask whether he was somebody who might have been inclined to carry out violence anyway and just latched onto the Islamic State as a way of justifying it.
Perhaps that could have been a vehicle for him. Talk me through the pros and cons. There was a lot of speculation about whether or not he was a, quote, lone wolf or connected to a more organized terrorist organization like Al-Qaeda or ISIS. I can see the downside of both, him being lone wolf or a part of a greater terror network, right?
Sure. There's, the lone wolf phraseology is often a little misleading because these guys often have social networks that lead them into extremism, and sometimes they think they're involved with a terrorist group. But in this case, it does seem like, as of what we know right now, that he was acting alone. When somebody really carries out an act by themselves without talking to anybody, without seeking social reinforcement for it, it's very difficult to detect those attacks. On the other hand, it's very difficult for one person to carry out an attack that would be of a spectacular size, like the Madrid bombings or September 11th. Mm-hmm. So, the number of casualties and the resources needed to respond to that kind of event are much lower, even though they're much harder to predict. So that's the trade-off between these two approaches.
Indeed. And is this the new front in the war on terror, these lone wolves, so-called?
Well, Al-Qaeda has been pushing for lone wolf attacks for many years, and other extremist groups have tried this approach in the past as well, white supremacists in the United States. It's very difficult to get people to act if they don't have a social context to act in. Violence is something extreme. It's out of our daily routines. You need to have a motivation for it, whether it's mental illness or whether it's, a social reinforcement. So genuine lone wolves are really very few and far between, and it's traditionally been very difficult to motivate them. What we're seeing, right now is a hint. It's very early, mm-hmm. but there's a hint of a trend that the ISIS is going to be better at inspiring lone wolves than mm-hmm. Al-Qaeda was.
Yeah, man. That's not encouraging to hear. J.M. Berger, we're going to have to leave it right there for now. Thank you so much for your perspective.
Thank you.